So someone emailed me a link to this video. This was someone I'd never heard of, Eugenia from Ukraine. She has only 2,000 subscribers and with a few hundred videos, and she's not talking about the war itself for the most part. She is talking about if you want to have context and understand uh, how she's experiencing life in Ukraine during the war, but it's not mostly about the war itself. It's a good channel. I've only watched a few videos, so I can't say with 100% confidence, but it's enough that I'm actually going to show you one of her videos and kind of walk through it with you because this was a really interesting one. The Soviet era is over. How have they done it? Now, and so we're talking about Ukraine's de-Russification and decommunization. And so I've been to Lithuania, Bulgaria, Romania, and Belarus. So I've been to in Lithuania. There was a park that was just these old Soviet monuments and not monuments, statues and things like that, and been through that. Well, Ukraine's gone through this de-Russification and decommunization issue as well. So I want you to hear from her how that all played out. I'm not going to show the entire video. I'll link it below, and I just want you to see this so that you can get some context for yourself.
Well, ladies in national costumes, children are playing, fairs in the park, fab autumn decoration. Seems like Lviv to me, but it's not. We are on the east, surprisingly. So in this video, we will uncover the process of cultural revival on the Ukrainian East in small native town, consequences of long-term Russification in this region that started in Russian Empire and finished in Soviet Union. And I want to remind you the term of Russification. This is enforcement of transferring of cultural, social, and all the areas, educational areas of life into Russian language. Please answer the question, why all former Soviet Union republic, especially the elder population, know Russian language very well? And why no one from Russians knows, for example, Ukrainian or Belarusian or Latvian language?
Yeah, that's interesting because that's what they did as they would conquer other places. And let's not fool ourselves. That's what the Russians are trying to do. They're trying to conquer Ukraine and absorb it. And when they do that, they've gone and, Russified everything that they could to try to make it part of Russia. Um, these are people, like they have hopes and dreams and aspirations just like you do. So shouldn't they be able to have a right to self-determination?
Because of the process of Russification. In distant 2016, decommunization have started in Kaminsky, and it took almost 7 long years to destroy monuments of the past, and the last one, Brezhnev's one, was dismantled only 2 months ago. Due to decommunization, even town's original name has been changed. Funny fact, in Soviet Union, my native town was named as Dniprodzerzhinsk. Very long word. Dniprodzerzhinsk, almost non-pronounceable, to honor the former Soviet leader Felix Dzerzhinsky, that took a name as Iron Felix thanks to his participation in Russian terror.
Yeah, Iron Felix wasn't really a good guy. You can read about him and find out, and they're naming a city after him. But you also had Leningrad and Stalingrad and things like throughout the Soviet Union. You would have more of these kind of things that were named, the streets named after uh, Soviet era things have been renamed in Ukraine.
But due to the policy of decommunization, town gained back his historical name Kamenskoye. Look attentively on this square. It's main street of the town. In Soviet Union it was named after Lenin, but now it was renamed in the Prospect of Freedom. Instead of monument to Lenin, it has memorial complex to a heavenly hundred. The strong policy
Okay,
of
and that's good because how they frame that is going to be how people are going to think. Now the Russians know that, and they're doing that with textbooks to high school students right now. They're changing the narrative and saying we had to invade Ukraine because the Nazis there. We had to denazify them, and they're teaching them military training in 10th and 11th grade now because they're trying to train up this generation this way. They did this with the streets. They did this with the city names. They did this with the language. And so the Ukrainians are throwing off the shackles of this Russification that they can feel everywhere that they want no part of.
Classification, most of the people that were born and raised in this area during 1940 till 1980 were sure that Russian language is their mother tongue. That is why, in my opinion, it's extremely important to implement soft policy of Ukrainization for new generation, for example, for our children, and town is successfully provided. They opened puppet theater for children for educational purposes.
Okay, so I'm going to skip over the puppet theater because I'm really not interested in that part, but I'm going to get to the next part here shortly.
But in my humble opinion, decommunization is not only renaming town names or street names, it's erasing Soviet Union past and mindset from the head.
And that's really important, erasing the mindset. When I was in Lithuania, I found a really interesting, and I love Lithuania. I appreciate it. But when I was there for the first time in 2001, we observed what we call the Soviet hangover. Like people would say things like, "Well, we just need one good leader to lead us," and well, no, that's not the way you should think about it. And I'm not picking on Lithuania again, but they still had this like if I was in communism for 80 years, how would I have processed, right? So they still had these kind of holdover thoughts, a lack of agency, which they have grown out of. I've been to Lithuania 3 times, and I saw it each successive time. Like they've grown away from that. But this lack of agency, where like, oh, I don't know, we can't do that. Well, why can't you? As an American, it was like patently obvious to me, like, go do it. Like, what's stopping you? But that's the part of the mindset that was ingrained for so long. And so they need to be lifting that mindset.
Learning Ukrainian history. That's why we will check historical museum right now. The Museum of History of the city of Kaminsky is a scientific, cultural, and educational institution that collects records, stories, studies, and popularizes the history and cultural movement of the city. And I'm very excited, guys, and happy that cultural revival and education from the side of the town did not stop during the war, because it can significantly raise the morale of the civilians and remind us what we are fighting for.
And that's exactly right. I mean, she's so spot on in so many ways. If you're not familiar with her and you want to see more of her context, I would urge you to subscribe. I don't get anything out of it. I don't know her. She doesn't know me. I just would urge you to subscribe. But the idea here is that, like, to the degree that you understand your past, you can understand where you're going in your future. Spot on. A plus.
Vision, I've learned a lot about Kaminsky history, about traditional decoration of the house in the village, and how village became a town, how people were living in 20th century there, and what input of metallurgical plan has been made for transforming village to the town. And this exhibition is placed in the Museum of the History of our town and open from 9 to 5. I'd like to mention that it's totally affordable for everyone, even for the people with low income, because entrance ticket costs only 20 hryvnias. That transfers to dollars in 80 cents, I guess. So, if you by any chance volunteering in Dnipro region, you can go to this museum and have an excursion alone or with the guide. And with the guide, it will cost a little bit more expensive, around $1.50. Do not forget about Dnipro, the capital of Dnipro region. Recently, I have been to meeting with my colleagues and noticed significant changes. Of course, people are trying to find sense of normality in this horrible situation. They are walking, sitting at the cafe, trying to find a snippet of joy in daily life. But from the other hand, we see bunkers all over the city, according to Israel model in 90s or early 2000s.
Just wrap that around your mind. Like, if you're walking around your own city where you live and you see these bunkers placed out everywhere so that people have a safe place to go, like that's just a wow. I mean, it's necessary, it's useful, but it's weirdly like encouraging and depressing simultaneously.
Single tram stop has mobile safe places. City is experiencing attacks several times each week with drones, and such bunkers is life-saving. It also equipped for people with special needs. Guys, I appreciate you dedicated some time to check my videos, and I would like to ask you for the small boost.
If you want to help me to spread a word about Ukrainian culture all over the internet, please smash this like button as crazy and share my video across the internet to your family and friends. And in case
So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to click like on this, and I'd urge you to go over and see this. I'll put the link to her below, and if you feel like you want to know more about Ukrainian culture, you subscribe. I mean, you can always unsubscribe later.
you have a possibility, please proceed to description of this video and check my Buy Me a Coffee page.
But let's go back to Kaminsky. If you are willing to check town and have not much time, life hack from me. Go to the Ferris wheel in the golden hour and you will see all the city from the bird's eye view for $2 only. It's a bargain. So this is our city. We are in the golden hour and you see the sunset. I will show you. And our beautiful cathedral, Catholic cathedral, and our plant, metallurgical plant. Guys, I deeply appreciate everyone who watched this video till the very end. Thank you for time dedicated. And I really apologizing for rare videos. Unfortunately, I need to accomplish my full-time job with content creation hobby and stick to the strict schedule of uploads. But sometimes travels or work overload influence on it. I appreciate your understanding and I hope to see you soon in another videos. Bye bye.
Okay, so that's Eugenia from Ukraine. I think she's worth watching. Again, it's not war maps. It's not the kind of political, or leadership thing that I do, but it's good context to understand how Ukrainians think. And I would strongly encourage it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and the coffees. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.